Chapter 9. The jingle of tack and the breathing of tired horses filled the moonlit night. Landlord, Royal Guardsman Mikael, and his men rode for a couple of hours to reach the isolated village. So far, there were no survivors. Sir Mikael, we found signs of a struggle a short way into the woods near some caves. There's a dead daemon with black quills in its chest, Guardsman Neser reported. Landlord looked around. Another unexplained instance of black quills killing daemons. He was sure porcupines didn't get big enough to cause that much damage. No people yet, so he hoped he didn't have to add another enemy to their list. Lead the way. We only have a few hours of darkness left, and I want plenty of time to return to the castle before the threat of sunlight, Mikael said with a glance toward Landlord. The daemons had poor night vision, so the darkness was the only time they could move safely between villages. Yes, sir. Guardsman Neser steered his horse toward the pathway into the forest and led the way to the caves. They had to dismount a short distance from the caves, since the narrow path cramped the horses. There was blood everywhere, along with claw marks and what looked like grooves where the human hands tried to grab onto the ground, most likely in an attempt to escape. Poor bastard. Landlord shook his head, all too familiar with this type of death. The daemon lay on its side a short distance from the torn ground. 2 black barbs protruded from its chest. There was no sign of its recent victim. There's nothing we can do here. Let's head back to the castle while we safely can. Mikael gestured back the way they had come. Landlord would have to add this to his report. Changed men. Daemons with black quills. He had a feeling the two were related, but just didn't know how. A whine from the caves caught his attention. Mikael drew his sword and motioned for a torch. Keep your guards up. Mikael led the way into the cave, with the flickering torch illuminating little beyond the cave's stalagmites. Glowing eyes regarded them a short distance into the cave, disappearing with the creatures blinking. Neser, get an arrow ready, Mikael said without looking away from the eyes. Come on out here. We won't hurt you. The creature made no move to obey, and backed farther into the cave with a whine. Sighing, Mikael sheathed his sword and knelt, extending his hand toward the creature. Come on, boy. I won't hurt you. The creature relented and walked into the light. By the goddess, is that what I think it is? I thought they were extinct. Landlord's quiet voice echoed in the cave. The large dog cowered before Mikael, shaking in fear, its tail between its legs. The torchlight reflected off its shiny black coat. What's it doing way out here? Neser asked, lowering his bow. As Mikael laid his hand upon the dog's head, the poor animal shuddered and shoved its body into Mikael, knocking him off balance. It lunged at his face, drowning him with its slobbery tongue. Help! Get him off me! Mikael laughed, trying to push the dog away. Looks like you have a new pet, Landlord said in a jealous tone. Mikael, I don't want to go to school tomorrow, Jenna said, looking down and trying not to giggle as the black dog from the cave licked her toes. Landlord smiled beneath his helmet. Jenna, why don't you want to go to school? Did something happen? Mikael frowned and clenched his jaw. No, yes, the other kids. Jenna paused, her smile fading. They laugh at me and call me names. Why do they laugh at you? What do they call you? Landlord saw the fear in Mikael's eyes masked with a questioning smile. They call me Gimpy and laugh when I say I'm going to be in the Royal Guard when I grow up. Why do they have to say that? I know I'm different, but that doesn't mean I can't do the things I want to do when I grow up. My teachers told me so. Her little lip quivered, and she was close to tears. Landlord's heart clenched at the only fear Mikael ever voiced. Children could be so cruel. When they saw another kid with a physical problem, they pounced like dire wolves on a newborn calf. Jenna's missing hand wasn't her fault, and the others shouldn't hold it against her. The other kids not picking on her sooner surprised Landlord. Their parents probably warned them not to, knowing the attack that had cost Jenna her hand had also cost Mikael's wife her life. Marilyn had been a brave woman and held off the demons as long as possible. Michael arrived before the Damons took more than Jenna's hand. "You can do anything you want to, Jenna," Michael said with confidence. "Don't let anyone ever tell you different. The other kids are only picking on you because they're not smart enough to realize that people can overcome anything if they're strong and stubborn enough." "You're right, Michael. I'm sorry I let them get to me. This isn't enough to stop me from doing what I want." She waved her left stump in front of her face. "I'm going to bed now." Jenna gave Michael a quick peck on the cheek, smiled at Langclor, and then ran to her room. A sad smile came to Michael's face as she raced to her room. Marilyn, Langclor's youngest sister, had been gone for several cycles, but Langclor's heart still ached every time he thought of her. Nobody could ever take her place in their lives. Langclor saw so much of her in Jenna, even though they weren't related, that at times he thought she was looking out of Jenna's eyes. He hoped she liked what she saw.